think just being myself has been the biggest win.
And has it leaked out into other parts of your life?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like what?
My husband hates it. And he's like, you were never this sassy when you were in corporate. And he's also like, oh, I really liked it when you wore navy. Oh, okay, well, as I'm like setting fire to all my navy suits in the garden. But so it does come out everywhere else, because now I'm more me everywhere. So it means that I've got more energy, I'm more relaxed, I'm more comfortable in my own skin.
Michelle Hartley, welcome to the HoLT Survival Guide for Small Businesses.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask you to give the audience a little bit of an intro into who you are and how we came to get here today?
Yes. So, well, the short answer is I basically just muck about on LinkedIn. The longer...
Same.
Inspired. The longer answer is I work with HR people and I basically transform HR teams from beige to brilliant. And I do that in a number of different ways. So I do coaching, I do training. I've got an amazing course called Find Your Awesome. I also run a little community called the HR Geek Squad, still coming down from an event last Friday. And then any kind of bespoke training that clients want me to do around leadership and management side of things.
And one of the things that I love about you and your brand that has literally evolved before the eyes of the LinkedIn community over the last few years is you have yourself gone from beige to brilliant. Like you literally have, and you admit yourself that you were a very beige HR person. And obviously we're not tarring the entire HR industry with the beige brush, but there's a good portion of them that are, and there are people that I've worked with that have very much felt that they had to be that version of themselves when they were working for companies, corporates, and within HR. And you've totally broken the mold with it. But it's not always been like that for you. When you first started out in business, I know you wanted, and I know all of this because we worked together one-to-one, and you were still in your
semi-beige
era at that point. You hadn't turned into the human rainbow that you are now. And I remember working with you, and there was that trepidation of maybe you didn't really know who Michelle outside of corporate was yet.
Yes.
And you've really, really evolved that as you've stepped into your own business and embraced what makes you different from other people in HR. And it took a lot of personal growth and confidence building for you to get that. And it's still ongoing. And every single year you become more bold, more brilliant, more wacky in the content that you create.
Yeah.
But it really resonates with people because there seems to be a great deal of direction with HR where people want to bring themselves to it. They don't want to feel, and I see it with like the insurance industry, the financial industry, the legal sector. They all feel very much like they need to be this cookie cutter version. And you've totally broken the mold, and you're leading the way for other people within HR. You've become like a beacon of authenticity. I hate that word. You know, we both hate that word, but authenticity and being able to bring your weird, wonderful self to the fore and use it for your brand. But how did you go from beige to brilliant yourself? Like what was that journey that you went on from, because you were in a job that you really weren't happy in, right? And so what happened when you left that, and how did you find your own voice and your own individuality?
Yeah, I think I've always had, you'll be unsurprised to hear, I've always had a personality. So even when I was dressed in the beige attire, I was always known as like the HR person that would tell it like it is, or that would kind of tell you the truth.
So the exterior didn't really go with the interior, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I always say that the period of burnout that I had kind of awoke me to, hang on a minute, why have I been masking and wasting all of this energy, this precious energy of mine that I've just lost for 8 weeks? Yeah. Why have I been wasting it trying to be someone that I'm not? Like it just suddenly was a massive light bulb moment as I was coming through that period of burnout. And that's when I was still in corporate. Went back to work because I had to be the pioneer of showing everybody how HR really works in real life. And you can go back and you can use occupational health and you can have a phased return. So I put myself in this weird position where I had to be the pioneer and the champion of doing the right thing. Yeah. And it was really hard, but I went back and within, 3 or 4 weeks, I was done. I just knew that it wasn't right and I couldn't keep doing it to myself. So that was when I thought, I'm going to go. So handed in my resignation with the full view of like, I'm off, see you later, I'll be gone by May. And then that was 2020.
And you didn't have a job to go to. You hopped out.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit.
Yes.
That's not the best timing, is it?
I mean, yeah, if I could plan it again, I probably wouldn't do it that way. But yeah. So yeah, COVID hit. So then I stayed even longer than I intended to, because in my like inner core, I couldn't leave the organisation in that scenario. It just felt wrong. So I stayed, and that was really hard. And that, I think for a lot of HR pros, burnout happened in COVID. So that was almost burnout number 2.
And I mean, it's completely understandable, right? The stress and the pressure that must have been on HR, particularly when you're juggling all of the... I mean, there's so many people suddenly working from home and having all these extra anxieties involved and juggling so much more.
Yes.
I can imagine the pressure on any HR person must have been...
unbelievable. Like off the hizzle. And even things like... you know, understanding medical terms, understanding legal jargon, like furlough did not exist before 2020 in the UK. And so understanding what it all meant and how it's going to work, and then translating it down to the organisation, like it was carnage. So that was sort of burnout number 2. And then came away from that and just thought, right, I'm going to just have a break and then I'm going to go back to corporate. And that was always my plan, was I'm going to find my next corporate job and just do the next corporate thing. Yeah. And as I and I had good traction, good interviews, good chats, lots of stuff happening. But none of them set me afire. Like none of them made me like want to do it. I just kept thinking, well, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that's the same set of tools, just in a new location. You know, it's just a bit like, yeah, I can do it, but I don't want to. And so that's when I sort of started to think maybe there's something else. And I ended up meeting another HR consultant who was like, we were just chatting and I just said, if you've got any corporate roles, let me know. And she said, why don't you just come and work for me for a bit, see what you want to do? Because I was doing loads of Canva designy stuff for my mates on the side. And
you're so good at it.
I love it so much. And so I was like, maybe this is my biz. Maybe my biz is Canva for HR people. Because all I was seeing online was boring AF posts that they grabbed off Google Images that were blurry, horrible.
Stock photos.
Yeah. So I was like, I can do better than that. So for a few mates, I was doing it. Then she said, come and work with me for a bit as an associate, which I did. And then some of it, I was like, oh, I hate this. This isn't for me. And other bits, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So when we started to do training and stuff, it was like a light had come down from the sky. I was like, ah. So that's when I realised that was my thing. And then it kind of all went from there, because as I started to do more training, I started to be more me, you know, rather than just, for example, like running her slides and talking about her stuff. I started to interject with, oh, well, when I delivered this is what it looked like. Or, you know, in my real world of HR, here's how it landed. And suddenly people were lapping it up. And I thought, oh, hang on, there's a market here. Yeah, this is a thing. Like real life, actual training that's interesting, engaging and fun. Yeah. Oh,
I mean, that's something that's a struggle across the board, isn't it? And I've heard it myself when I'm delivering LinkedIn training. You know, a company says, you need to come in today, we're doing LinkedIn training, and they're expecting, you know, 50-year-old Colin who's balding and in a blue suit.
Always Colin.
Yeah. And then I come in and they go, oh, hold on a minute. And I deliver it completely differently and in a way that is fun and relatable and engaging. And they go, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And it makes it stick more, right?
Yes.
But there's a real lack, or there was a real lack of training that is engaging. And you deliver your training and it's become more and more unique. Like you bring Lego into it, you bring your famous bin into it. Everything's bold and bright and colourful, from your outfits to your slides to the gifts that you bring and the merch that you share. Yeah. Like everything is anti-beige.
Yeah, 100%.
But it gives people the permission to be themselves as well.
Yes.
So you're lifting everybody up with it.
Yeah.
So at that point, you decided you were going to go out on your own and deliver training for people. How did you get your first clients?
Well, yeah, this is really interesting. So I think, do you know what? Maybe it's even something that you'd said on LinkedIn, but I'm sure there was something about DM people that you know you, like as your first sales opportunity, like have a conversation with people that have worked with you before. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to message a couple of the managers I used to work with who've moved on from the organisation, but I know are still in management roles. And I just said, you know what, I'm doing this thing. I don't really know what it needs to look like yet. But here's the rate. Would you be interested in doing something? If you wouldn't, then please just drop my name to anybody you know that would.
Yeah.
Well, within 20 minutes, one of them was like, oh yeah, I want to buy like 3 days worth of time.
Wow.
Let's just book it in. And my God, you'll laugh at this. And my goal initially was 500 quid a month because I wanted to pay my car. And so I did this, and it genuinely was like 2 grand's worth of sales straight away. And so it made it like amazing straight away. And I was like, oh, I'm going to need a bigger goal.
And it makes it real, right? The minute you get that first client. Yeah. I remember when I ran my typing business, I put an ad on Gumtree, right? And I was like, oh, maybe. And it was ridiculously low price. Yeah. And I was just trying to get some experience. And I had like 3 emails straight away from people.
Yeah.
And one of those people emailed me saying, have you got any experience with medical transcription? I was like, nope. But I'm a really fast learner. So if you give me the chance, I won't make the same mistake twice. Yeah. And she was so desperate because there was such a lack of medical transcribers that she gave me a shot. And she was my client for 9 years. And within the first few months, I became her favourite type, like transcriber, and I was getting all of the work. Yeah. And that made it a real possibility for me. I was like, well, if I can get this one with medical work, I can get more medical work. Yeah. And I haven't even got the experience of half these people. I'm just really, really like, I'm very attention to detail when it came to that thing. And I'm such a perfectionist. I don't want anything going out unless it's perfect. Yeah. And it worked really well for me. And that first client that you get really gives you the confidence. Even if the money's crap for it, it gives you the confidence that, yes, I can get clients. Yeah. But that confidence doesn't stay, does it? Because you will find that you lose a client or you make a mistake and it feels like the world is collapsing around you and you internalize it so much. And maybe that's us with our like ADHD rejection sensitivity. But as far as I know, it's the vast majority of entrepreneurs. Yeah. And that's where the roller coaster comes in, because you will get these massive highs. You secure a client. It's more money than you've ever made in a month. Yeah. Or like working in your job and you're going, oh my God, this is amazing. But then you lose one or you don't convert on a call and you really internalize it to start with. How did you navigate that for yourself? Like when you didn't get a client, like who did you turn to, or how did you remind yourself and ground yourself in the fact that it's not me, I'm not terrible at what I do. This is just, I'm not the right fit for them. And because you do have to rationalize it, don't you? Yeah. And we are quite sensitive people, and you do have to grow a tough skin as a business owner. What did you do, or who did you turn to that helped you to build that tough skin? Yeah, it's such a good thing. It's really hard because in the early days, the first client you lose is the one that cuts the deepest, right? So it's just the worst. And you still remember worst thing, yeah. And it just feels so horrible. I think, because even now I still get like a proper like, oh, this is really hard. Like I still get the feels because it's mine and I care. Like, and I want to do a good job and I want people to, have a great time with stuff that they do with me. So it's really hard. So I think part of it is, I always think, well, there's enough work out there for everybody. So it's obviously not meant for me this time, and that's fine. Yeah. I have had a couple of people interestingly say to me, well, I'm going to go to so-and-so. And I'm like, that's cool. Good luck to you. Yeah. And they come back and they say, oh, I didn't behind have the back, you're like, yeah. And but they're like, I didn't have a great experience. I'm like, oh, how interesting. Would you like to talk? And they come back. And I just think that's brilliant. So that's leave them with a good feeling. And if they're not yours now, they might be in the future. Yeah, I've had that several times. Yeah. But I'm fine with that. And I think maybe there's like that inner, and I was having coaching with Kelly and I said it to her, but like the inner confidence thing, and I was questioning it because I was like, is this what confidence feels like? Because I'm like, I'm cool with that, see ya, like it's fine, because there's always someone else, right? You might have one bad day, one bad email, one bad turn down, one bad payer, and then the next day something better will happen. Somebody will pay that massive invoice. Somebody will message you and say, oh, MG, I've just seen this and I loved it. Or, oh, I've just seen this video from 6 years ago, like, and you're brilliant, like, can we chat? And something will come in. I think one of the things that's helped me is like remembering that I need to internalize the good stuff as well as the bad. OMG, because we're all guilty of taking it so personally when something doesn't go our way or we don't get a customer that we wanted or a job that we wanted. But we don't internalize the good stuff as effectively. And one of the things someone said to me was like, you need to and I love this. It was actually my psychotherapist that I was going to for a while when I was trying to deal with, I was struggling with the volume of attention that I was getting online. Yeah. And it really, I found it crushing.
Yes.
And it really created a lot of anxiety in me. So I started seeing a psychotherapist. And it was especially around like some of the negativity I was getting, which I know you've had negativity as well. And it can be really hard to deal with when you're putting yourself authentically out there on social media.
Yeah.
And he said to me, you need to take yourself to thought court. And I was like, what's thought court? And I've talked about this online and it always gets a really great reception. But it's where you take evidence, and you can only take evidence into thought court, not feelings. Feelings aren't facts. Feelings are, things that are going on in you, but they're not the facts. So you can only present facts as evidence in thought court.
Yeah.
So when you're having a feeling of like self-doubt, you need to have a body of evidence that proves you wrong. Ooh. So screenshotting positive feedback, messages from clients, having a folder that I call my smile file.
OMG, I've got a smile file.
Yeah. Maybe you got it off. Like, there was a post I put out about it, and I have this smile file, and whenever I get like a rejection or something that I'm feeling like I'm going to take this too personally, I go to my smile file and I read all these nice things about me, and I go, I'm not as crap as I think I am. But it really, really works. Yeah. And it really helps to get over that imposter syndrome that we are constant, because I think people look at people like me and you who come across extremely confident and in our own definition successful for what we've wanted to achieve, and by a lot of people's definition successful, and they think, oh, we must not feel imposter syndrome, we must be confident all the time, and yet we're literally shaking every time we're going to walk out onto a stage, or before every call we're like nervously like cleaning everything right before a Zoom call. And so how do you pass on that confidence to the people that you meet in the HR industry? Like, what are some of the things that you find that they say a lot that you help to overcome their confidence issues? Because it must be quite difficult for specifically HR people to feel that they can bring their authentic selves and still do their jobs really well.
Yeah. This comes up a lot in my program. So the program that I call Find Your Awesome, it comes up a lot. And that's the whole point, is it's about HR people refinding their awesome, because it's in there. You just got to refine it, and I just help them refine it. So we talk a lot about imposter syndrome. We've got a whole module on imposter syndrome, because the amount of HR people that say to me, oh, I can't do that because blah, or I don't think I can do that. Of course you bloody can. So turn off that inner imposter. So there's a couple of things that I get them to do, which is name your imposter. So give it a name. Mine's called Roy.
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 Why Roy?
Because I hate the name Roy.
Okay. Sorry, all the Roys watching.
Sorry, Roy. So I call it Roy, and I've really visualised. So this is what I get them to do in the programme. Really visualise what your imposter looks like. So Roy is a bit like Rabsy Nesbitt, like dirty trousers, string vest, greasy, horrible hair, comb over, scabby skin, red face. And he always tells me off, and he's giving this stupid BS when we talk, and he talks in my head. So I get them to name their imposter. And the reason that I get them to do that is because then you can tell it to fuck off. So they get, so now what's hilarious is loads of my geeks have done the Awesome programme. And so whenever I come out with something in our geek chat that's like, oh, I don't know about this, or I can't do that, I literally get 100 messages going, fuck off, Roy. And it's the best thing ever. So that's one of the things I teach people. And then getting them to do the 1%er. So I think you've probably seen this online and we've talked about it maybe, but my rule is 1%. So 1% better, 1% more you, 1% more self-care is better than nothing. So your 1% could be, I'm going to moisturise today, or I'm going to put a sparkly top coat on my nails. That was what broke me out of burnout. Sparkly top coat. Now look at the state of them. But that's, 1% better. So what's your 1% better? What's your 1% more authentic? What's your 1% happier? What does that look like, and make it happen? Because 1% is achievable.
Sorry for the interruption, but I've simply got to tell you about the HoLT. The HoLT is our light membership to the HoLT. For just £20, you can access more than 85 masterclasses delivered inside of the HoLT, and we add 4 or more every single month. There's no chat, no community, just pure value from experts you can trust. With quite literally tens of thousands of pounds worth of training inside the HoLT and no contract or commitment, some might have called it the Netflix for business growth. You can sign up at the-holt.com/HoLT and see for yourself. Now, back to our conversation. And it's one of those things, isn't it? As a business owner, especially when you're present on social media, you are surrounded by people that seemingly are leaping forward
Yes.
50, 75, 100% every single week. And you think, oh my God, they're all moving so much faster. Now, for a start, the vast majority of the people that you see seemingly leaping forward massively are full of shit.
Yes.
Like it's not
100%.
really, what they say is generally a big exaggeration
Yes.
on not everybody.
Yeah.
I really did go 0 to 6 figures in 10 months.
Yeah.
And, so there are people that do have a lot of luck and achieve amazing things, but there's nowhere near as many as you're led to believe on social media.
Yes.
They have fake jets and fake hotel sceneries for influencers that you can hire. There are all sorts of ways to appear more successful than you actually are. Mm-hmm. And it does work and it does get people clients but those clients are massively unsatisfied and then try and find someone that's really achieving the results.
Yeah.
And it's often not the people that you think. But how have you found that affected you because I know it definitely affected me, and I felt that I was being swept away with other people's expectations. And it was like, well, you could start a content agency, you could train a load of LinkedIn trainers to do what you do, you could franchise your community, you could do this, you could do that. And I went, hold on a minute, I could do all of those things, but I don't want to do all of those things. Yeah. I had an investor literally say to me, let's grow a LinkedIn agency, you head it up, I'll invest in you. And he was like, lots and lots of money offering me. And I went, that's not for me. And he reminded me of it the other day and said, I'm really proud of you because you stuck to what you wanted to do, not what you could do and other people expected you to do. How have you stayed, I hate the phrase stayed in your lane, but stayed in the lane you chose, following the path you knew you wanted to go on, rather than get distracted with what everybody else said you could do or you should do? Yeah,
it's a good question, this one, because it's so relevant. There's two things. So the first is I always follow the joy. So whatever brings me joy is what I do. And so if it's not bringing me joy, stop bloody doing it. Or if I do a session for a client and I'm like, do you know what, that didn't land and I don't like it, I'm not doing it again. I just don't do it again.
Yeah.
And so the other piece is not necessarily being rigid about where you start. Because when I started, I was like, well, I'm just going to be a fractional HR director for companies that can't afford a full-time one. I'm just going to be that strategic person they call when they need it. And that's fine, but it didn't bring me joy. And of course you get to that point where you're like, well, I could up my prices. Is it going to make me happier? No. Even if they paid me, 20 grand a day, I'd still hate it. So I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So there's that kind of piece about, and I see this a lot with fellow entrepreneurs, is they get really rigid about, but this is me, and so this is what I need to do. And I'm like, but if it's making you sad, why are you carrying on doing it? And so that was the biggie for me, was suddenly realising, oh my God, I don't need to do this just because I said I would.
And the whole point of going self-employed and starting your own business is because you want to do something that, yes, pays the bills, but also that you get up in the morning looking forward to. Yes. Because otherwise you just stay in the 9-to-5 job that paid the bills and was nice and safe. And it was all right. You didn't maybe hate it, but it didn't fill you up. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a really privileged thing to say, because we're not, at the beginning when you first start a business, there is an element of, I kind of need to take all the opportunities.
Yes.
And I have to work with people that maybe wouldn't be my first choice. Mm-hmm. And I have to probably accept less than I think I'm worth sometimes.
Yeah.
And you really find that path. But when you get to the point where you realise, actually, do you know what? I've got good results. I've got great social proof of what I'm able to achieve. And I know more what I do and don't like. That's the point where you start going, and you can still experiment. I did it.
Yeah.
I experimented with 4-week group training programs with LinkedIn. I loved the people that I was working with, but I did not like that model at all. And so I stopped doing it. I did three runs of it and went, I'm not doing that anymore. And I'd actually invested quite a lot in getting all the systems set up, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I don't like speaking on stage, and I still do it now and then for the really good opportunities. But it's very occasional because I don't enjoy doing it. And everybody really tried hard. You should be doing this, you should be doing that. I'd love to have you speak on this stage and that stage, and large amounts of money. And I went, but the toll on me personally to do that, it's not worth it. And I know how privileged that sounds to be able to turn down that. And I wouldn't have been able to do it 5 years ago. And I absolutely would have said yes to a lot of people I would now say no to.
Yeah.
But that was part of the business journey. And I sort of paid my dues, saying yes to things and going, oh, God, I wish I hadn't done that. But it paid the bills at the time.
Yeah.
And it like getting to that stage when you are comfortable saying no to people is a huge turning point in business and our confidence levels and where we're going to go next, I find. And did you found the same?
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely. And now I hate saying no. The inner people pleaser never leaves. I hate saying no to people, but I have this like core now where I'm like, this isn't my thing. Like, this will not bring me joy. I won't do a good job of it. I would much rather give it to someone who will do a great job and retain my credibility. So I do often pass work on to like other HR consultants, to other trainers, to other coaches, because I'm like, actually, I won't do a good job of this. And I do genuinely say, yes, I can do it. Like, I've got the skills to be able to pull something together for you, but I will not be the best person to do it. Yeah. So here's, one or two people that I'd highly recommend and I really trust who I think would do a good job of it for you. And I think that's almost like, again, maybe that's the confidence thing, isn't it? Where you can just be like, do you know what? It's not right for me, but here's how I can help you.
And I actually heard Daniel Priestley talking about this when he did the Diary of a CEO podcast, and he was talking, and I was already embodying the advice that he gives in this section of the podcast. And I've known of Daniel Priestley for a while, spoken on some stages with him, and he called it with or without you energy. And when I got to the point in my business where I was like, I'd be on a call and I'd say, well, no, I'm not gonna chase you for it. If you want to go ahead, I'm here when you're ready, but I'm not gonna keep following you up and chasing you. You know where I am. And that with or without you energy, like, I don't need you, but you need me. And I'm like, it changes everything. And I'm not saying you should be like arrogant and irreverent with clients. Obviously, that's not, potential clients, that's not how you should be. But when people get a sense of, actually, I need them more than they need me.
Yes.
It really changes the game. And especially as a woman, when I'm being spoken to by male potential clients, they're like, oh. And I've got a really great example. There was a company, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he ran a VA agency, and he was trying to talk me down on prices. He wanted to combine, so he wanted all these different versions of my LinkedIn training for different groups of people, and he wanted to combine it all and get a discount. And I said yes initially, and gave him a good discount on if he booked all three of these different things together. It's like, great, one client, big payout. And then he came back to me again, trying to cut the price down even further. But in that time, he then posted on social media that I was going to be speaking at this event to try and sell tickets off the fact that it's like, we haven't even agreed this yet. And you've come back again after posting that, trying to reduce my fees again. And I said, actually, you've been so disrespectful of my prices and my value that I'm not doing any of it. Please remove me from this advert. I'm not going to be at the event. And then I got several emails begging me to be part of it. And I said no. And it felt so empowering to push back on someone and say, actually, I don't want your money. Because you're being really disrespectful. And it was the best thing ever. And within a couple of days, I had 2-3 more clients that were far more, who didn't try and bring my prices down.
Exactly.
Those pivotal moments you need to like grab hold of as a business owner and go, these are the things I need to internalize. This is strength. This is courage. This is me knowing what my value is and holding on to it and trusting that the right people will come to you. So where is it now? So how long have you been running your business now? So was that 2021?
December 2020, I sort of started 2021 January, I suppose.
So nearly 4 years. And where do you find that you get the most of your clients these days?
I literally only do BD on LinkedIn. So I do nothing but LinkedIn. So everybody comes from LinkedIn. I think now there's a lot more word of mouth happening as well, but everybody has initially found me on LinkedIn. So it's all been about LinkedIn.
And what's been the biggest move or biggest change that you've made when you left? I assume you were using LinkedIn when you were in HR, in corporate, I mean, but in that time period, what's been the biggest change for you that you feel has really helped you to get the right kind of customers on LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who are watching this that know both of us from LinkedIn or listening to this. And obviously, you know, most people will know that we worked together back in the day, but even when we worked together, the big changes didn't happen immediately after that.
Yep.
You've been in an evolution on it.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of people come and go. We've seen a lot of trends happen on there. And there's still a huge number of people in HR and beyond that are frightened of LinkedIn or don't see LinkedIn as the tool it is when you're using it well.
Yeah.
So what have you found has been really effective for you as an HR professional, but for you as a person, as a business owner, that you could share that would maybe encourage people to give it a go or to do things that work better?
Yeah, I think, and it's funny you talk about HR and LinkedIn because that's another module on the programme, because people are so scared of it in HR.
Yeah, they are.
Because I think in
it's
HR...
It's not just HR, is it?
No,
it's any kind of corporate role when where you're employed is, oh my God, I'm going to get fired if I say the wrong thing.
And I have fired people for social media behaviour. So it is a thing.
You'd have fired me many times over.
I think I'd have fired myself as well. But I think for me and how I use LinkedIn, and I know we've talked about this, is I basically treat myself a bit like a lighthouse. So I put myself out there as a lighthouse for the things I am, the things I do, and the things I love. And so in the same way that I follow the joy on LinkedIn, what I do is I share the joy. And so I don't really do overselling on LinkedIn. And I know you're the same. I don't really do like a, here's my thing. Although if you've been on for the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about my event. That was quite salesy. But normally I'll be talking about things that I'm doing that I love, that I enjoy, that things that link to something about a corporate
People that
tale.
you've met, places that you've been. And you've got a real... And I noticed this, you've got a real pattern of things that you do, like regular posts. And I think that is one of your key strengths on there. And I use it as an example in the training that I deliver people. Like you have your cards against HR every Monday. And you have your Friday bin day where you bin 3 things that have annoyed you every week. And for anyone who hasn't seen them, Michelle literally holds a waste paper basket and writes things on a post-it that have annoyed her that week, and she puts them in the bin and says why they've annoyed her. And then every week she also bins Nobosaurus, who is a little tiny paper Jeremy Clarkson as a dinosaur, and she bins him every week. That's become a pattern. And then every time you're off to do like a training, you've got have Satchel Will Travel, which is a picture of your bags, whichever bags you've packed, brightly coloured bags, and usually your cats as well. And these patterns of like, they're in people's heads to the point where you come to events with a bin or borrow someone's bin and have random people bin things. And it's become, as wild and ridiculous as it sounds, people look forward to it. They see a pattern. Sam Walkley is a great example as well with his Legal Fact Friday, which he's actually trademarked. And every single Friday, I notice if it's not on my feed on a Friday and I go looking for it. And I noticed that he was gone for 4 weeks when he took a break. And I was like, where's Legal Fact Friday gone? This is part of my week now. And I think it's a really, really strong tactic that you use, which makes content creation so much easier for you, but makes you so distinctive. Aside from the fact that everything's always very brightly coloured, rainbows, pink, you're very known for your vivid colours on LinkedIn, which makes you stand out in a sea of, you know, navy beige. Blue and grey and beige. But those, you've created a pattern in people's weeks, which they look forward to and notice if it's absent. And it's easy for people to immediately recognise you, but also remember you because they know you as the HR bin lady, as glamorous as that sounds. But you know, Katie McManus I always think of because she wears a hot dog costume and talks about not being a weenie and starting your business. And you have these things that become very strong associations in your head with people. And you've done that really, really well. And I love it. So is that something that you recommend to the people that you work with, to create content that creates a pattern in people's heads? Or like, how do you encourage them to be themselves and bring content that is going to work to become that lighthouse? I think it's interesting because I think people want a thing, don't they? And people will often say to me like, oh, but what can my thing be? And I'm like, well, I can't decide that for you because it needs to be your thing. But I think there is that that concept of creating an appointment to listen or an appointment to watch, an appointment to come and see me. And so everybody knows the Monday, Friday thing. And so that's the appointment to come visit my profile, right? People come because they want to see it. Or I get so many DMs of people saying, I love the bin this week, or I binned stuff in the office this week. Like, I just love it so much. So I think people need to find whatever their thing is. And
And I did a post a little while ago about being the special sauce, like I'm the secret ingredient. But the same with other people's content is they need to be the secret ingredient. So
and it's
whatever
an evolution,
it is,
isn't it? Sometimes it's not something you're not just going to log on to LinkedIn, make your first post, and then go,
No.
oh, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
You start learning about what people like from you.
Yes.
And tailoring it, and that's a good, motto for business in general is, and what you were saying at the beginning with your trainings, you start with an idea in your head of what you want to create. And I did it with the whole, this is what my membership community is going to be.
Yeah.
But actually the more people that joined and the more feedback I got and the more active listening I did within the community, I realized that actually there are other things I needed to add that would make it more valuable.
Yeah.
And there were things that maybe weren't so valuable that could be sidelined, and we could double down on other things. And when you're regularly creating content, whether it's good content or bad content, you're learning what resonates with people.
Yes.
Even if it's not in the comments, you're getting DMs from people, or you go to an event and someone says, oh, I really love that thing. I see your content on LinkedIn. It's really great. Because not everybody's engaging.
Yes.
And I think people really forget that actually the vast majority of your future clients probably will never comment on your content.
Yeah.
And that's wild, but they're there lurking in the shadows, watching, appreciating.
Yeah.
But not actually letting you know that they're there until they're ready to work with you.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
do you find that as well?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Some people will say a really specific thing that I've done, like, oh, I saw that thing you did on micro moments of self-care, or I saw that thing on micro moments of inclusion. And I'm like, oh my word, that was like a 2-minute video.
And it was years ago.
Last year. Yeah. How? And they're like, oh no, it really resonated. And I'm like, and I'll look back at it and I'll go, nope, they didn't like it. They didn't comment on it.
Yeah.
Holy hell, where has that even come from?
Isn't it?
And it's amazing that it sticks. And I think that's the one thing about video, actually, is it enables you to connect more with an audience.
Especially when you train.
Yes.
And I say this to coaches especially, but coaches, trainers, speakers, you have to get on video, because as good a writer as you might be and as lovely as the photos might be, if I'm hiring a trainer or a coach or a speaker, it's their energy that is going to connect with me. And I would say we are probably better than the majority in getting that energy across in our text. Yeah. But on video, it completely changes it. And LinkedIn are really doubling down on video at the moment with their new video feeds that they're bringing in. So people creating videos get leads quicker, because I think it accelerates getting to know people. And people get stuck in this rut of, but my videos don't get much engagement and no one really likes them and I don't get that many comments. It doesn't matter because the right people are seeing them. Exactly. I only got 100 impressions. Imagine 100 people in a room and you just spoke to them. That's a lot of people. Exactly. Like that's 3 school classes of kids that you've got in a room that are listening to what you say. That's actually a lot. Exactly. So I think, how have you overcome your fear? Because you weren't doing video at the beginning.
No.
So what have been the key learnings that you've had that have changed the game for you in getting brave on video? Because you are one of the most confident video creators that I see on LinkedIn.
Thanks.
And you fully bring your the full Michelle Hartley comes out on these videos.
And I think one thing was I had coaching with Harrison, who was amazing, and he really got me confident
Harrison
around what to do. Love him.
He's wonderful.
So I had some big coaching with him, and he really encouraged me to do it and helped me with editing and all that kind of stuff. And I think the other thing is, and it sounds ridiculous, just fucking do it. Like JFDI, just do it. And I say this to people all the time, just do a video then. Just do one. Who cares? Just do it. And for me, for my biz, exactly as you've said, my whole business concept is I bring my magical energy to make training that gives you light bulb moments. So if you can't see me and how I operate, how will you know that I bring magical energy and give you light bulb moments? So if I don't do video, people won't know that about me. And so I end up being more hammy than I am in real life, because people need to see that, right? And so that is what makes the difference, because people will say, I've seen your videos and I want you to come and do that, but in a training format, can you come and do it? And I'm like, oh, okay.
And actually, one of the things I hear so many times, and it's such an excuse for people that they use frequently, is I hate the way I look on video. I hate my voice on video. Don't watch it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't watch it back. Yeah. Or I've put on weight and I don't. If you've put on weight and if someone hires you to train, is that in that exact body going to be up on that stage? Is that exact voice going to be what they hear when they speak to you? If the answer is yes, which it is, then they are hiring you exactly as you are.
Exactly.
And nobody's hiring you because you're a size 12, not a 14.
Yeah.
No one's hiring you because your voice is the exact right pitch for a trainer. They're hiring you because of the knowledge that you bring and the energy that you bring.
Yeah.
So if you can bring that knowledge and energy onto the tape, it doesn't matter if you're an oil painting, right? It doesn't matter if you packed on 5 pounds at Christmas, because we all ate too much cheese, because we all do it. Like, they're hiring the person that they... cheese. We love cheese. That's soundbite that one. That's just going to be a clip that I play constantly. We love cheese. But it's one of those things that people really make too much of it. And I'm absolutely guilty of this myself. Yeah. I've definitely used those excuses and put it off and gone, I can't be bothered. It's too much editing. It's going to take too much time. It's not. No. Record it. Don't edit it. Add some captions. Post it. Yeah. You really don't have to overthink it, because people aren't hiring you because you're a brilliant video editor if they're hiring you for HR training. It's a very nice skill to have if you want to add it, but they're not going, oh wow, she's a brilliant editor, I'll hire her for HR training.
Look at that caption. Yeah.
Right? Oh, the lighting's not quite right, she's probably terrible at her job. But people massively overthink it and put so many barriers in their way when it really isn't that deep.
Yeah.
Just have a little chat. Steve Ware, actually, who we're having on this podcast, he does them every day. He films a video while he's walking his dog.
Oh, that's nice.
And he just has a chat with the camera. Yeah. And that's the kind of energy that you need to bring. And he wasn't doing it brilliantly at the beginning. Sorry, Steve. But they weren't polished. They're not polished videos. They're not perfect. Yeah. He's not, he he ahs when he's speaking sometimes. That's all fine. It's about getting to know who you are face to face. And when you meet people after doing lots of videos, they're like, oh my God, I feel like I know you already. And that is so powerful in building that trust and familiarity when it comes to trying to sell your business. And people get on a call with you and half the time they're already sold. Yeah. They're just there to confirm the details because they already know it's you and your energy that they want in their room.
Exactly.
And it's mad. So what would you say if we're coming to the end of this, and I've got just a couple of final questions. What would you say has been the most transformative advice that you've received, and who was it from, if you can remember, that's made your business journey more successful, more bearable?
I think, and again, I can't remember who it's from, so I feel really mean, but somebody did say to me, and I've adopted it, it's my very own mantra now.
They might see it and identify themselves.
Is that there's enough work out there for everyone. And for me, it was almost like somebody just cut the strings and I just went, oh, you're right, actually. There is enough work out there for everyone. Yeah. And that was the thing that stopped me being like grabby about the work that I was doing and stopped me doing the whole, well, I'll do that because I sort of can and I could do something. And it just suddenly just took all of the worry out somehow because it will come. There's enough work out there for everybody and it will come. And so that's one that's really stuck with me.
I love that.
And I don't know about anything like mega transformative. I think just being myself has been the biggest win. And I think that's just come through that evolution of like corporate to...
And has it leaked out into other parts of your life?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like what?
My husband hates it. He's like, you were never this sassy when you were in corporate. And he's also like, oh, I really liked it when you wore navy. Oh, okay, well, as I'm like setting fire to all my navy seats in the garden. So it does come out everywhere else because now I'm more me everywhere. So it means that I've got more energy, I'm more relaxed, I'm more comfortable in my own skin. As we talked about weight earlier on, but like I'm the biggest I've been and I'm the happiest I've been. And that's a big change for me.
And that's a huge thing to say, isn't it? Like, I found the exact same thing. I mean, I've always been myself. I've never really been able to be asked to be anybody else. And the person that you meet online is the same as you meet in person. I'm probably shorter and a little bit more introverted in person. I'm a little
Today
bit
you're
more...
more sober than I met you last time.
I don't drink. What are you talking about? We definitely didn't slide backwards down. No, we wouldn't do things like that. No. But I am the same person, but I've become more me.
Yes.
And I was always me, but I'm so much more confident being myself because I know that it creates the right opportunities for me and brings the right people into my life and has made me really happy over the last few years. And I know both of us have, gone down the neurodivergent diagnosis route as well. And that's definitely lifted a lot of my, like, the way I would punish myself over, you're not very good at that, you're not very good at that. I'm like, it's fine, I'm not good at this, but I'm really good at these things.
Yes.
So I'm just going to find other ways of coping or people to help me with the things I'm not good at. And it's definitely been predominantly because of LinkedIn, but the fact that LinkedIn has enabled me to grow businesses and given me a voice that I didn't really know I had, and showed me that people are interested in me if I allow them the opportunity to be interested.
Yeah.
And I know that when we spoke, there was a definite theme of no one's going to really be interested in what I've got to say. And I don't think I've ever had a client that has not said that.
Yeah.
And it's been hundreds over the years. Everybody thinks that, but no one can be interested in you if you don't share anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's like walking into a networking event and standing in the corner and saying, well, no one spoke to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can go over there and start conversations and you have to, even if you're an introvert, like if you just put a little bit out there, people start showing an interest and you go, oh, actually, there are other people like me here.
Yep.
And so I'll just do it again.
Yeah.
And then there's more. And you're like, oh, wow. And your confidence just grows. And it's been a massive privilege to witness your evolution. And, you know, for us to have developed a genuine friendship as well. We've met on many occasions. We've definitely drunk a few too many cocktails and eaten, what was it, falafel or chips, cheesy chips, probably. Yeah. But it's been a real privilege and a joy to do that. And I think that's another thing that comes from a presence on LinkedIn and social media in general is the genuine friendships that you build.
Yes.
If you're open to it.
Yeah.
And both of us can say confidently that we've made many friends from the social media. You just share the best memes on Instagram, which always make me laugh. But LinkedIn has definitely been the place where our friendships have hugely evolved and the work opportunities have come with that. So it's been a real pleasure getting to chat to you today.
I've loved it.
And I'm sorry that Bronson, my co-host, abandoned us halfway through.
He's ditched me halfway.
He's ditched you. You're the first
Poor
guest
Bronson.
that he's done that to, actually.
Oh, no. He picked me and then abandoned me.
He sensed you're a cat person. That's what it was. Thank you so much for making the trip up here, Michelle. It's been an absolute honour. And I'm sure people are going to really enjoy the giggles of this episode and all the swearing.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Before you go, I just need to tell you about our brilliant podcast sponsor that aligns so well with our own mission at the HoLT. While seasoned podcaster Wendy C was consoling a friend about a toxic workplace experience, she realised that workplace abuse is so widespread, and yet so many people are suffering in silence, often alone. Safe Space from the Workplace is a new podcast for everyone. If you find yourself in a toxic workplace, you're a leader or business owner feeling out of your depth, or you have a friend or family member struggling at work, this podcast is for you. Wendy will be talking about everything workplace related, including survivor stories and speaking to experts specialising in tools to cope with burnout, discrimination, redundancy, grievances, medical issues, women's health, and so much more. The podcast aims to empower employees and educate leaders and business owners and help people who find themselves in toxic workplaces to realise that they're not alone. Subscribe to the Safe Space from the Workplace podcast on the links below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.